Welcome back, you tier list aficionados. I'm Mr. Tier Lister. This is Tears of Joy, and we're here today with Hot Take Blake.
Here to talk about some sports. It's definitely something that I know a lot about, and I've watched a lot of sports, so I'm the man for the job, and I'm ready.
Now, we're a big sports family, and, we love sports. So, if you're sitting back on a Sunday and you want to watch some sports, we're going to break down what you should watch. And hint, it's not darts. First
Not
up,
included.
Not included, but also that's not what you should be watching. That might be paint drying. Next up, we got NFL football. This is a classic if you're an American. This is a classic Sunday, whatever, every day. Personally, it's a little bit too stop-start, but a good game, like end of the game, is very exciting, I have to admit.
I'd agree. Probably of all these sports, it's probably the one that can most consistently make an interesting game at the end. Like, so many games are like, maybe they're not super close, but at least there's a way for the team. So they're desperate. Yeah. They use their timeouts in a way that makes the game seem like it's resting on one play, a lot of games. So I think that's great. I think the game is a great athletic game, a lot of feats of athleticism that you can really appreciate. So I'd say primetime viewing. I love watching football.
I'm not going to agree. I was going to put B tier probably. I'm going to bring it to the A tier.
Sure. Fine by me.
I think one of the problems is a lot of these sports, like, if you're watching in the first quarter or, start of the game, it's fine. But football, there's some pretty boring first quarters, I'd have to say. Next up, we're with Bolty here with some, whatever, athletics, Olympics, whatever it is. I love it. I love watching the Olympics. I love watching track. It's so exciting. It's such crazy athleticism. I love it.
So we're including it as being like all track and field or all Olympics or
track and field.
Track and field. Okay. Yeah. Track and field's fun to watch. It's not on TV a lot either. So it's got the novelty thing. I think if every week you were watching a whole bunch of guys run around a track, it might sort of lose its charm. But I think the fact that these guys only have the chance every once in a while and a lot rests on every race, especially when it's a short race, it's good viewing.
No, and I love, watching Bolty turn around with a little smile to DeGrasse and the storylines and
iconic.
Yeah, it's pretty iconic, I have to say. I would say primetime viewing, but I'm not sure if you're there. Are you? Probably not. Maybe.
I'd say B. So I don't know. But
yeah, we'll say A tier. We can go behind football for now.
Okay.
Next up, we got baseball. A lot of people complain about this one. It's slow. It's boring. You don't have to be athletic to play baseball. It's for fat people. But it kind of has this quality of being almost like a little video game in terms of the little strategy and the way it's played around a little base. It's kind of cute, almost game, it's just kind of fun to watch sometimes.
Oh, it's probably my top one. I love watching baseball. It's slow, but then also it's slow in a way that makes it so it builds up the anticipation to a point where suddenly you realize that there's a lot hanging on one pitch. If it's an 0-2 and you want a pitcher whose pitch count's coming up to stay in the game, and if he can only throw a knockout pitch to get through the inning, and the strategy behind pitching changes and defensive alignments, pitch calling, there's just so much to the game that it's fairly basic when you just watch it to start, but when you really start to understand the game, it's amazing to watch, and some super exciting moments, especially in the postseason.
And I think one of the factors that we should talk about, because it's 2020, is how easily it is to watch with your phone and still get the game. And I think baseball is high on that.
Oh, to do anything, man! I love watching baseball and cooking. I love watching baseball and doing the dishes. It's perfect for that. You can watch it if you're not actively doing something, but if you're actively doing something and it can't keep your eyes, you just wait for a roar. And you hear a roar, you look over and you see a ball flying over the fence. It's great.
I was probably going to go A tier, but after hearing you with your explanation, I can go to the PTV. I can go there.
PTV. Well, it would be primetime viewing if there weren't 162 games every year, but some of those games are primetime viewing.
Yeah, some of them are for sure.
Yeah.
This is a family favorite. This is tennis. This kind of has the same, not as much, but novelty value. It's only 4 times a year. You got some pretty exciting tournaments. You got a big game with
You can watch tennis a lot more than that during the year if you want to.
That's true.
Just the
But you got some like
majors.
big, Nadal, Djokovic games. I mean, that was maybe 5 years ago, but and it's a very exciting, third, fourth, fifth set. Yeah, fun time to watch.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say I do have a hard time actually sitting down and watching tennis for any extended time. I think it's a little too repetitive. I think that the rallies in some game, like some games, it's very exciting and like the rallies vary a lot. But there's some games where the rallies are all just meeting the same end, and it seems like you're watching it on a loop. So I don't know, just for the history and for like how important the tournaments are and stuff, I'd say B tier. But to actually watch it, yeah, is not my favorite.
Yeah, I'll probably agree with the B tier. There's definitely, like, I'd say track for me is a lot better, but B
Yeah.
tier. Basketball, I don't know. I never used to be a huge fan of basketball, but recently I've started just doing a lot of like betting, watching, exciting, being a fan. So basketball, yeah, I love watching it now. It's a great sport to watch.
Yeah, it's got a lot of really exciting moments for sure. I think I do think it's a big issue sometimes how anticlimactic the games can be and how you just get into fouling at the end of the game and the last 2 minutes take forever even if you know who's going to win. So I'd say to actually watch it, yeah, not the best for sure. I think as a league they're doing really well and like the storylines and stuff are very entertaining, which brings it up that you want to watch it even if the product is not all there. But I'd still say A tier, like low A tier. I
Yeah, low A tier. I think, yeah, the end of the game, we've talked about it so many times, but it's painful with all the fouling and, the last minute takes 20 and it's just a waste of time.
Yeah,
It's annoying.
this is
Yeah.
probably the game with the most like freak athletes, which is cool. It's cool to watch guys like Anthony Davis who are 7 feet tall and still nimble.
Well, Giannis, like that's a freak of nature, Greek freak.
Yeah, but he's I don't know. I almost find Anthony Davis more. Well, that's another discussion, but
That
he's
is
a little
another
more
discussion.
athletically interesting.
Hmm. That is an interesting take.
Well, he's like a past point guard. He's got like great handles and everything. So
Yeah. Next up, we got NASCAR, like auto racing, whatever you want to call it. I think this and golf kind of a similar, like, you're scrolling through the channels, you watch for like 20 minutes, a bit of like almost like ASMR, just
yeah.
like chilling almost. But if you're like had to watch 2 hours of any of these sports, it's probably the absolute worst. It literally is people going around in a circle.
Well, this picture at least is not NASCAR. It's F1, which is not quite a circle. It's like more of a track. I'd say F1 probably a little more interesting, but yeah, I wouldn't watch either of them.
Yeah, no, I think it probably is the worst we have here. So if anything is going to go in the paint drying tier, it has to be this one.
It's kind of funny when you see the Sportsnet top 10 and like it's some sort of thing where you end up seeing guys like get out of their cars and beat the shit out of each other. That's funny, but I'm thinking you'd have to watch a lot of NASCAR before that happens, so not worth.
Exactly. If you're watching just for like the good moment, then it's not worth it.
Just watch the highlights.
Exactly.
Paint drying.
Paint drying. Yeah.
Paint drying.
Next up, I think there's some soccer fans who watch this. Matthias, maybe,
Oh,
but
he's ready to step on some toes here.
yeah, I'm stepping on some toes here. I'm calling him out. I think recently with the park the bus kind of meta in soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, has made soccer not a super fun sport to watch. It's the first half is 0 goals, and you have the 60-minute goal or the 70-minute goal, and then 20 minutes of, six defenders on the one side defending the 1-0 lead. And I just don't think that the pace is generally not there for most games unless you're watching, a really important game, a really interesting game, or two really reckless sides. But yeah, I just think that a lot of games are just boring 2-1, 1-0s, and sometimes the goals aren't even that exciting.
I mean, I never thought I'd be the devil's advocate about soccer, but I will say World Cup soccer, stakes are huge. It's only every 4 years. The crowds are always great. I do like watching that, especially when countries are able to rally behind teams. I wish that was in more sports for sure. But like, yeah, it's not there for actual watching it on a day-to-day basis. Like I know
Yeah,
there's soccer that you can watch. Like if you'd want to watch soccer every minute of every day, you could. There's enough leagues and stuff,
there's a
but
lot of soccer. It is the
it's
world's
just
game.
it's not there for me. Not
No, I
there.
think we're going C tier, but just a lot of final thought. I do love like the nationality, and you see like people, in the even the Yukon, we have like some Chileans or people from Brazil, whatever they're from. It's like interesting to see them cheer for their own teams at the World Cup, which I love that. But the actual like if you're watching a regular Premier League game, it's probably a C tier. Is that okay?
Yeah, see. Give it a
Yeah.
little bit of respect.
Yeah, we got four more sports here. Coming up next, we got rugby. I don't watch a lot of rugby. I've seen a lot more Aussie rules actually, and Aussie rules is really fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's kind of different, and it has the cool thing about like I think even rugby would have the same for me, but you're watching it and you're also learning at the same time, which is cool. But I think it's more interesting to watch than football sometimes. It's a bit more fast paced, bit different for me. But yeah.
I'd say it's a fast pace, but it's a little more monotonous. Like a lot of the time, they just get stuck at a certain point, and then it's just running the ball back and forth across the field with the laterals,
Yeah.
which is not super fun. I'm not exactly sure about like the technicalities of what kind of rugby, but I know that there was rugby that I watched live that I think it was
Sevens probably.
sevens,
Yeah, sevens is
because
more
it's
exciting.
typically played with 11, which I felt like the sevens looked a lot more fast paced. Like there were a lot of like end to end rushes and stuff. Like, well, the 11s from what I've seen is more like it gets grinded down to a halt just because there's too many bodies. So I don't know. I'd rank it high just because that was a really cool experience to watch that, and I thought it definitely had potential.
Maybe high B tier.
No, I'd put it behind tennis. I'd say tennis is better.
Okay. Yeah,
Just because I've watched it a lot more. Yeah.
I think that's why I like Aussie rules because it doesn't have the like scrum, which scrum is just annoying. Like it's silly.
Yeah.
Next up, this is my favorite sport. I actually have a podcast where I talk about hockey with my dad. We don't
Oh
have time
wow,
right
we
now.
found a way to
Yeah,
plug. That's great.
I found a neat way to plug. It's called Hockey Talk, like the bird right now. We might change the name. But I love hockey. I'm a massive fantasy hockey fan. Me and my dad both are. And I don't know. I honestly watching it's not as good as like taking part in the fantasy, but the fact that I have all the players in the teams and like I'm watching to see if one of my players will score makes it really exciting. So, and shout out Dylan Cousins. Congratulations.
Yeah, man. I'm a big fan of hockey. Love to be on the show sometime, actually.
You will.
I will.
Yeah.
I got some
Yeah.
knowledge. I'd agree. I don't think it's the best thing. I think it's the same thing as tennis. It can just fall into kind of the same thing where you're like almost like you're watching a loop of plays. But I think it's got a real you could say this about a lot of these sports, but it's got a very good postseason. It might have the biggest jump actually from quality of an average game to a postseason game because it's just a completely different game. Like that applies to like all the main American sports, but for hockey I think it's the most true, so I think that pulls it up in my opinion. So I'd probably put it maybe in that spot. We'll say right above NBA if you want to do that. I don't know.
That works for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we got golf. This one has good highlights, obviously, because there's crazy shots. And like I think Dad pointed out a few months ago, whatever it was, that like it's cool because now they have such good camera work that it's like when you're watching it, it's like hole, 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 like in, shot, 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 which is
It's
pretty.
perfect for ADHD. You just always
Yeah,
see stuff happening.
yeah. But actual like you don't really care. I don't think, at least for me, and it'd be hard to care because it's just random people all the time. So for that, I just don't think it's. I don't know. I don't like it that much, I guess.
Well, I mean, hockey's random people if you never watch it.
No, no, no. But what I'm talking about is like, let's say you're a Tiger Woods fan. You're only going to see Tiger Woods' shot once every 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, but you know all the other guys too. It's the same guys on the circuit. So
I guess
yeah.
so.
I don't know. I guess I'm kind of speaking out of my ass because I would never really sit down and watch golf. But I'd say the any times I have, I was never really disappointed. I think it's maybe got too bad of a rep because, like, yeah, as Dad said, it's good for you can always watch the action. It's very relaxing to watch because it's always just outside. Everyone's just walking around.
Has some like nature sounds.
Nate, definitely, it's like ASMR. Like you could fall asleep listening to golf for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really see any argument. Like I think put it below soccer probably, but not quite paint drying.
Yeah, below soccer.
Not quite paint drying.
Last one here, and this is kind of topical because when we're recording this, it's just before, I believe, the like Khabib against Justin Gaethje fight. So we'll probably know what happened after in that one after we post this. But UFC, I've seen it a few times, and I'd have to say two things. One is that it does kind of give you the natural human instinct of like liking fighting and just like the kind of like aggressive barbarism. But the second thing is that I don't really think that it's like we complain about football and the CTE, but this is just times a million. Like I think you were talking about that earlier. It's just ridiculous that we're watching people just smash their heads in and knock each other unconscious.
No, I'm actually trying to get out of here so I can see if my boy Khabib came out with the dub tonight. So big fan, love UFC. I'm tuning in every night.
Are you trolling?
100% stupid. Paint drying. Never gonna watch this. I actually I think it might not be more boring than car racing, but I think it's like I'm uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes me like don't want to say the word, but yeah. I don't know if that makes me that, but I don't like watching guys go that hard at each other. Like even boxing, I think is like a little more respectable.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I agree. This is
you're gonna put it above car racing?
Yes, I'm gonna have to. Sorry, it's a bit more exciting.
Okay, whatever, you do that. Yeah, I agree. It's more exciting.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the tier list?
It's great. I'm surprised that you're. I mean, that's how I do it. But baseball being the only primetime viewing, let's go.
Yeah, I don't know. Now that I'm seeing this, I'm questioning it, but it is what it is. There you go.
Let's go Dodgers.
Yeah.
And Blue Jays.
All right. You have a last little message before we go here?
Watch the hockey podcast. I'll be on there sometime talking hockey.
I think
thanks for having me on again.
Yep. I'm sure I'll see you next weekend. We'll record some more. And thank you to all you tier listers out there. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode and have enjoyed the channel in general. Coming out with more content, improving the content. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, do all that stuff. Have a great rest of your week. Bye, guys.
See ya.